Hello, my friends. This is Wolfgang from my healing circle with tools for Ascension, and my spirit guides have been bugging me to talk about this and uh, to. I will be talking a lot about personal things, but it seems to be of great importance. So here we go. It is about the spiritual and physical warriors. And I hope, I pray that everything I'm teaching here is going to be used only for the highest good and divine harmony with the most benevolent outcomes. Amen. So, uh, we this is probably mostly for guys and maybe some of the women. There are nowadays a lot of warrior women there that will fight for the freedom and equality of women, and I honor you. I have great respect for women, and it is a shame how they have been suppressed and abused for thousands of years. Personally, I find that women have a much greater capacity for love, for compassion, that they are way more psychic, this means connected to higher realities. Um, so I have the greatest respect for you. Um, let's just start with the story. I used to work on the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, selling gems, crystals, etc. And one of the workers there, I was told, one morning came to work with a bloody T-shirt. And so one day we were hanging out at the stand, and there was nothing going on. And I asked him, what happened? And he said, yeah, at the gas station, I had to do it. And I asked him, if he does any fighting style. And, oh, yeah, kickboxing. Uh-huh. And so I started talking shop with him, how do you get out of a headlock, how do you do, your kicks, and how do you fight with heavier, stronger guys. And so we were swapping recipes, and we did this for 2 hours. And I don't judge people. I mean, I have probably most of the sins I have performed myself. And I probably have done worse things and more damage, affecting thousands of people than most people have. So I have no right to judge, and people feel that when you do not judge them. So, um, so after 2 hours, I've earned that guy's respect. And, I saw the time was right, and I asked him, hey, do you want to check out something new? And he said, oh, yeah. So I asked him, stretch out your hand. So he stretched out his hand, and I put my hand over it and start running some chi into it and asked him, can you feel this? And wow, that guy, he was afraid. I mean, he was full of fear. Very, very afraid. I mean, it amazed me. And so I said, well, I mean, don't be afraid, would you like to learn that? And he said, oh, yeah. So, I said, okay, I'll show you. Sit down over here, and I showed him how to connect with the earth and how to connect with heaven and how to pull that energy into your heart with your breath and how to, expand it as love with a smile, And so I let him sit there. And, then I got distracted and, I talked to other people. And it was about after 1 hour, I was still talking to another person. I feel this love coming over me, this wave of love, coming from, the right side kind of behind me. And wow, and I look around, and this guy was about 4 yards away from me, I mean 12 feet, and he was sitting there, perfect yoga pose, and he was grinning from ear to ear, his eyes were closed, and just projecting this huge ball of love. And so that's one story of street fighting, or talking to a street fighter. I think that guy's life has been changed. He's not going to be the same. And if you see that, love you, man. Love you, man. All right. More about Warrior Tomb. There is, of course, the law of man. That is, of course, nowadays very much manipulated on this planet, with corporation, lobbies, etc., etc. And then there is the law of the natural law. It's called natural law, and Immanuel Kant, the German philosopher, dealt a lot with that. But he's not the only one. And regarding warriors, natural law is that of course you can defend yourself. Self-defense is allowed. There is no karma as such, or if somebody tries to burn your house, or you can somebody tries to rape your wife, according to Hindu traditional law that is taught in the Vedic scripture, you can kill that guy, no karma whatsoever. But there are other things that are very, very important. For instance, destroying other people's bodies, for other reasons than self-defense, is really bad karma. And there are certain reasons for that. First of all, karma is always trying to teach you stuff, and if you think it is okay to just whimsically hurt other people and destroy other people, you will probably, after you pass out of this body and you have a life review and you see the damage you have done to that person, how it has affected that person's life, and how they're affected, other people's lives due to that damage done to them. You feel so sorry, so that you set yourself up in the next incarnation to learn this lesson, and most likely is it that you become a victim, that receives similar punishment as you mete it out, and till you get the point that destroying other people's bodies is not a good idea. So, and that can go on for many incarnations. I've performed about 1,000 past life regressions with people, and I do not talk from dogma. I talk from experience. And many times people completely overpay. This idea, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, no, it does not really apply. It's a simplified idea. It basically, if you take an eye, you're going to be taking eyes, your own eyes, till you get the lesson. And most people really overpay because they don't get the lesson. There is another aspect, which is, let's say I break somebody's nose, or I knock somebody's teeth out, or I break their kneecap. It could be even out of self-defense. Karmically I would be clear, but still, on the other hand, every time that person looks into the mirror and sees his broken nose, he's gonna hate me. He's gonna send hate to me, and that hate, those thought forms, those emotions, they're gonna travel to me and get to me and wreak havoc in my life. Or every time the weather changes and that broken knee hurts, and every time he's hobbling around, he's hurting, and he's gonna hate me, and that energy will go and come to me. So it is not a good idea just for that reason. And I mean, we all seen, how thought forms, can hurt people. We all have seen how Michael Jackson, when the public opinion, turned against him, how it destroyed him, or Britney Spears. Uh, you know, um, those kind of judgments, are very, very destructive, and you do not want to expose yourself to this kind of stuff. Um, then there is another aspect, and I kind of touched with this a little bit before, your own conscience, your own guilt. And so many veterans from the American wars, they have seen, how kids got blown up, how women got shot up, or how their own friends got shot and blown up. And, they feel guilty about it. Maybe if it was their friends, they think, oh, if I would have done this or done that, this wouldn't have happened. And and guilt, of course, cuts yourself up, from the love of God. You feel that you're not worthy of being loved, or being loved by a woman, or being loved by anybody, you know. So very, very destructive. Um, then there is another aspect. By fighting and destroying people's bodies is not good. Is if you, uh, let's say, blow up a family. Let's say, get real here. Defending your home and your country against invaders, that is pretty much natural law. I mean, many soldiers feel that they're doing the best, that they're serving their country and doing the highest good, invading another country. Yeah, keep kidding yourself. You got nothing to do over there. Yeah, they had weapons of mass destruction, right? And that's why we invade Iraq, and kill about 1.2 million people. I mean, if Saddam Hussein would have used weapons of mass destruction, it would not have been that many people. So, anyhow, what do you think how those people react? If you blow up a whole compound, and the whole family gets killed, though those people pass out of their bodies, they become ghosts, do you think they're going to go to heaven? Well, many of them are going to be really, really pissed. They're going to be really mad. Maybe there is even a daughter survives and she's crippled, and they see that. They're going to be so mad. And ghosts, they can just by thoughts, they will know where you are. You cannot hide from them. They're going to come and harass you. They're going to be telepathically, affect you, when you are asleep. They give you nightmares. Or they will sit by the end of your bed, every time, you go to sleep. Or they will affect the thoughts of others around you, so they will be angry at you. They will harass you, and they can follow you through lifetime after lifetime. And I personally have, let's say, there is this kind of remote killing, whether it's by drone or whether it's by airplane, by a bomber. And I've had a friend whose brother, was a fighter pilot in Vietnam, and he said, after a couple of years, his brother fell apart. He never was on the ground. It was like all pretty much indirect. He fell apart. And so many of his colleagues also fell apart. I once in Vegas, visited the home of two fighter pilots. They were a couple. They were complete alcoholics. They were smoking so much, they were just so self-destructive. You could really see, it was their guilt, and it maybe was a ghost, it was horrible. So not a good idea, going to war, I mean, unless, you're only working for defense, not a good idea. And if you're plagued by ghosts, if you're that, uh, pray to them, I mean, pray for forgiveness, tell them that you feel sorry. Pray for forgiveness and ask the angels, to please, help them, heal them from their pain, heal them for their suffering, and send them into heaven so they have peace, have their loved ones come and pick them up, you know. So you have some kind of atonement, and then promise to do good, and change yourself. I mean, everybody can make mistakes, and many people just need a job, and the army is, it's easy money, and it's very tempting, and so yeah, we make mistakes, and there's no eternal damnation. If you feel sorry and you don't want to do it again, you can be forgiven. Jesus got tortured, and I mean, I read about it, and they would drive those nails through the heels, and there's so many nerve centers. Basically, with every breath, you have excruciating pain. And I have done past life regressions with people that got tortured by the Inquisition, of course, all in the name of love of God and Jesus Christ, and they cursed the shit out of those people that persecuted them. And I did too. And I would too. If somebody comes and tortures my family and tortures me, I curse him. But Jesus did not. He said, please forgive them, Lord. They don't know what they're doing. So this is the attitude, that frees you. And so we have to be very, very careful with misjudging other people. I've probably helped 10, 20 people that have been sexually abused. Many of those things I do not remember clearly because it is not nice what you see, and I don't want to carry that with me. So I ask that I forget this. But anyhow, when people realize that they have been abused by their uncle or their father, and they're very angry, very, very angry. And I have those people in a higher consciousness, through guided meditation and through energy work, and so they have access to knowledge. And some of them ask Jesus or the Mother Mary or their higher self. There are different ways of getting that knowledge, and but I always ask, now what made those people that abused you sexually act that way? Why are they acting that way? And they always say, oh, they have been abused themselves by somebody else. They were victims themselves, and then they couldn't help themselves and they had to do it. So, and then it is very easy for them to forgive. But unless they can see that their victimizers were victims themselves, they cannot forgive. Now let's talk some more warrior stories. Well, I will do some confessions here. When I grew up as a child, I had initially very, very little socialization with other children. And I was about 4 or 5 years old when we moved, and suddenly I was standing on the street in the suburbs, and within minutes There were about 10 kids around me, and within minutes I was stuck into an empty trash can and locked up there. And then finally I got out and ran home. And the next day I had a nice little scooter. My scooter was taken away. Some other kids just took it and played with it. And I did not know what to do. And then one older man told me, when they take your scooter, just kick him in the chin. And that's what I did, and it worked. I had respect, and I could play with my scooter. So I had to set up certain limits. It's very difficult not to have any limits. But then there are other stories. So I learned martial arts, and I can hit pretty much accurate within a quarter of an inch. And I was traveling in Kashmir, normal bus, packed with people. People are sitting, and as many people as are sitting are standing in the aisle and just waiting for somebody to get up, because I stood about for 2 hours, and had my hand by the seat, so when somebody in that row would get up, I would sit down. And finally, after 2 hours, somebody got up, and right at that time, this scrawny little guy just slipped under my arm and sat down. And I went like, no, 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 and I grabbed him by the arms and just lifted him up and put him in the aisle and sat down. Now this guy started to lose it, and he started slapping me and yelling. And I just, slapped the sand. I just defended with one hand, and just slapped him away, the arms away. I didn't attack him. I just defended. And but the thing is, the people started to hold my hands. They and they just got out, and you always get out on the thumbs. And but I realized that if I wouldn't stop that, I would get mobbed. And I didn't like to get mobbed. And so it just happened kind of automatically. I just, he was kind of slapping, and there was a clear space, and I just, shot out a straight Zuki, and which was like aimed at the chin and focused, to the back of the neck. And it was a lightning fast strike. And then this special thing happened. My fist was here, 3 inches away from his chin. And at that time, somehow or other, I stepped out of time. I saw what would happen if I pulled that thing through. It's all crushed, the guy's on the floor, and big trouble. Big trouble. And then the other amazing thing happened is, in this lightning strike, I went from this to that and took him to the throat. I touched the throat. I touched the skin. There was no choking, nothing. I just touched the skin, drew it back. The whole bus was quiet. And I said, this better stop right now. I don't mind fighting, and if you don't stop, I'm going to defend myself, but it's going to be very ugly. So you better stop now. And people let me go. I sat down, and everything was cool again. So I was protected, from creating damage. Another time in Bombay train station, getting out of the train there, second class is really packed. People rushing in. I had a hard time getting out. I had to lean on the people. I had a Samsonite just pressing down so I could get out. And people start pulling my hair from the back. I turn around. This is huge Sikh. I'm 8'2", and that's big for India. There's this guy who is a head taller, a Sikh, means warrior class, and who had about 50 more pounds than me, and his arm is up. So I just, it just was fun, fluent movement. I got him in the belly, on the side, and the belly was soft, and the head was focused, all the way to the back, where the kidneys are. And again, I had a vision, him laying on the on the floor on the train station, and people all around, and I did not want that, and I pulled back. I did not. I'm not that good that I can, pull this back, but somehow or other, I was taken over by my higher selves, maybe by parallel selves that was a martial artist, and prevented, more violence to happen. And, again, I just, scared him. I just said, I don't mind fighting you, but that was just a warning, if you want to keep going, I go ahead, but it's going to be nasty, it's going to be very ugly, no. Everything was cool after that. So, this is all about violence and the dark side of humanity, and everybody that knows about history knows for thousands of years, this has been going on. We all know the cruelties that have been performed, let's say, by Rome, where, slaves, the whole Colosseum kind of thing, slaves against slaves, 5 against 5, 1 against 1, or criminals, staying in row, get a knife, you fight the guy, the one who dies, the next one comes on, and, till everybody's dead, The Roman society was very expert at violence, they were very much like America, very, very much like America, highly militaristic, very cruel, of course very self-righteous. They would take whatever they wanted from wherever they wanted. They are scientists, they came from Greece, all the brains came from Greece, and they used them, and nowadays Greece is kind of like Europe. All the good American scientists are Europeans. They you might know about Project Paperclip. All the good Nazi scientists became part of the CIA. And you can find out for yourself if you don't believe me, but it doesn't matter. This is not the point. I'm not pointing fingers here. This is not about that. Maybe some of you also know about the Dark Cabal, and it's not the Cheney's necessary. They are the human tools. Maybe some of you know about the work of David Icke. About the Draconians, an astral race, overshadowing humans. In the Hindu traditions, they're called the Rakshasas. They're feet of violence, they're feet of fear, and I have to say, not all of them are bad. I've seen, I've worked with, I've had contact with Rakshasas that were good. They came from unconditional love. It blew my mind. But so um, so to hate them would just play into their game. It's just like in Star Wars, give in to your anger, come over to the dark side. You become like them. It is not the way to fight them in that way. It will destroy yourself. Your heart will filled with anger and violence and negative thoughts, and you will attract their attention, and you become their pawn. Every time you become angry, they fan this up. The devil, same thing. It's probably the same race. So how to deal with that? And probably the best I can tell you is, like, of course, their big crime is a violation of free will. They're working out of secrecy, and they're using technology like telepathic, synthetic telepathy. Machines that affect human emotions. Machines that uh, implant thought forms. They have very advanced technology, and it's possible for them, to do very, very strong manipulations, and they have done so for thousands of years. Humankind by itself is not that bad. They have been manipulated into being bad. So my advice is to just pray to the good higher powers, like Archangel Michael, the good aliens, the ones that come from unconditional love, to please protect us from the infringement of free will, to protect us from the clandestine manipulation, from the negative influences, to destroy those machines, to heal those that have come under their influence, to show them the ways of forgiveness and love, and to kick those invaders out. In the great Hindu epic Ramayana, that was probably several eons ago, and some of you may know about those 25,000 year cycles, where the earth goes into higher and higher consciousness, and then it degrades again, and then it goes up again. They go through, let's say, 4 seasons, like the 4 yugas, but basically it is just a raising and lowering of vibrations, and then there's generally some type of tabula rasa, some kind of annihilation. But anyhow, so in several of those cycles before, more than 10,000 years, probably more than 25,000 years, maybe 50,000 years, some ballpark like that. It doesn't really matter. The world was overrun by these Rakshasas, by these draconians. And Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, Mother Bhumi, she's called, asked God for help. And there was this incarnation of Ram, those green people, probably Pleiadians. And at that time, the headquarters of those beings was in Sri Lanka, and they were routed. Ram, he created an army of monkeys, yetis maybe, very intelligent, and they were, in a way, they had supernatural powers. They could jump, they could throw mountains, they could throw huge boulders. It was a higher vibrational reality. It was not the 3D reality that we are experiencing. It was more like when you're on LSD and you can, lift a 100, 200-pound thing, with one finger when you can shapeshift. There was that kind of vibrational reality, and just routed them out and established, a good rakshasa, a good lizard man, and that is generally the myth that is called. Well, I met one of those monkeys in this lifetime. But that is another story when I talk about past life regressions. My friends, I love you very much. Please share. If you think that some people could benefit from watching these videos, please share it with them. If you need help, I'm available if I can help you. I like to work over Skype. Send me an email, and then we can set up maybe an appointment. And I accept love donations. I have to pay bills like everybody else. And that the good forces be with you. Namaste.